The space station was loud and busy, but Ethan just wanted a quiet walk. He had finished his shift as a mechanic, his hands still smelling like metal and engine oil. Bright ads floated in the air. Small drones buzzed past his head, and aliens of many shapes moved through the wide corridor. Ethan walked with his tool bag over his shoulder, thinking only about food and sleep. Then he heard a sharp cry. It was small, pained, and full of fear. He turned his head and saw an old alien grandma stumble near a cargo rail. A heavy metal crate slipped from a broken hover cart and crashed down on her thin leg. She fell to the floor, her silver skin dimming with shock. The crowd slowed, looked, and then began to move around her. No one wanted trouble. No one wanted to get involved. Ethan did not even think. His feet moved before his mind finished the thought. He dropped his tool bag and rushed to her. "Hold on, I've got you," he said. Even though he was not sure if she understood human speech, the crate was big and heavy. It took all his strength to lift it. His arms shook, his back burned, but he gritted his teeth and pulled. Inch by inch, he moved it off her leg. The old alien gasped. Her eyes were large and silver, with tiny bright rings inside. She watched him with shock and something like disbelief. When the crate finally slid away, Ethan knelt beside her. "Can you move your toes?" he asked softly. He did not know alien bones well, but pain was the same in any species. He gently slid one arm behind her back and helped her sit up. Her name was Rama. He learned it when she tried to speak, and he asked for a translator patch. Her voice was rough and shaking. You are human," she said through the small device on his wrist. "Why did you help me?" Ethan blinked at the question. "Because you were hurt," he said simply. "You could be my own grandma." He checked her leg. It was bruised but not broken. Her hover cart, however, was badly damaged. One of the grav coils had cracked, and the control rod was bent. Ethan sighed. "This thing won't move you anywhere like this," he said. He picked up his tool bag and began to work right there in the middle of the corridor. People stepped around them, some annoyed, some curious, but he did not care. For the next half hour, Ethan fixed her cart. He cleaned the cracked coil, replaced a wire with one from his own bag, and hammered the control rod straight against the floor. Rama watched him silently, her hands resting on her knees. Her eyes never left his face. Sometimes she winced when he pulled too hard on a part, but she did not complain. Ethan kept talking in his calm, soft voice. "Almost done, Grandma. Just one more adjustment," when he finally stood up. The hover cart hummed softly. Its lights glowed steady again. Ethan tested it by pushing the handle. It floated smoothly forward. "There we go," he said with a tired smile. "Good as new." Rama slowly stood, leaning on the cart. She tested her weight on her bad leg and nodded. "It will heal," she whispered. "If the cart had failed in the lower dock, I would have fallen into the cargo pit." She looked at him with deep, strange eyes. "You saved my life," Ethan raised his hands, a little embarrassed. "It's fine, really," he said. "I just did what anyone should do." Rama shook her head. "No," she said. "Not anyone. Many watched. Only you moved." She stepped closer, studying his face as if she was memorizing every line. "Tell me your name, human. Tell me your clan. Tell me where you sleep, what work you do." Her sudden questions made him laugh. "My name is Ethan Cole," he said. "I don't have a clan. Humans don't really do that here. I'm just a station mechanic. I sleep in Block C, room 27, near the engine bay." He thought she was just being polite, maybe checking if she could send him a small payment later. "You don't have to give me anything," he added quickly. "No money, no reward, just maybe smile when you see other humans. We're not all bad." Rama did not smile. Instead, she looked at him as if he had just spoken some deep, ancient secret. Her thin fingers gripped the handle of the hover cart. Her shoulders trembled, not from pain but from emotion. She bowed her head slightly, a gesture of great respect among her people. "You do not understand what you have done today," she whispered. Her voice was soft, but there was weight in it. Heavy and serious. Ethan frowned, confused. "I helped "A grandma," he said lightly. "That's all." She lifted her head and met his eyes for a brief moment. The noise of the station seemed to fade. It was just him and her in a bubble of silence. "No, Ethan Cole," she said, almost in a warning tone. "You have bound yourself to my house." She turned her cart and started to glide away, leaving him standing there with a cold feeling in his chest. He watched her go, not knowing that this simple act of kindness had already started a chain of events that would change his whole life. The next morning, Ethan woke up to a strange sound outside his room. It was like metal boots on metal floor, slow and heavy. Someone rang the door chime 3 times, sharp and urgent. Ethan rubbed his eyes and opened the door, still half asleep. What he saw in the hallway made him fully awake in 1 second. Old Rama stood there with her hover cart. She was dressed in clean dark robes with bright silver threads. Her bruised leg was wrapped, but she stood straight and proud. On both sides of her were 2 tall alien officials in armor. Their chest plates carried glowing symbols, and each held a thin, shining staff. Behind them, trying to hide a little, stood a young alien girl with nervous eyes, Ethan Cole of Block C. One of the armored officials said through a translator, "We require your presence." Ethan blinked. Good morning to you too," he said. "Is something wrong, did the cart break again?" He looked at Rama, hoping this was just about repairs. But her face was too serious. Her silver eyes were calm but firm. "Come with us, human," she said quietly. "It is time." Those words made a cold line run down his back. Time for what, he thought. But he could see this was not a moment to joke. He pulled on his jacket and stepped into the hallway. The officials turned and began to walk. Rama's cart floated beside them, and the young alien girl walked at the back. Ethan fell into step beside her. He glanced down and gave her a small smile. "Hey," he said softly. "I'm Ethan." She looked up at him, then quickly away. Her skin was a softer shade than Rama's, with faint blue patterns along her cheeks. Her eyes were big and bright, but full of worry. "I am Lyra," she whispered, her translator hanging at her throat. "Granddaughter of Rama." Ethan felt a small twist in his chest. So this was the granddaughter the old woman had talked about the day before in the corridor. The girl she mentioned only once, with pride in her voice. He had thought it was just small talk, family talk. Now he was walking between alien guards with that same granddaughter at his side. They did not go to some grand hall or council room. Instead, they entered a small shrine chamber near the market level. The room was round, with a high ceiling that glowed slowly like a soft moon. Strange carved stones lined the walls. At the center stood a tall stone pillar with symbols cut deep into it. In front of the pillar lay a thin mat. Rama's people stepped in quietly. Bowing their heads, the 2 officials moved to stand beside the pillar. Rama floated her cart to the front and turned to face Ethan. Lyra stood just behind her. Grandmother, her hands shaking a little, her eyes never lifted from the floor. "Ethan Cole," one official said, voice echoing gently in the room. "Yesterday, you pulled a death weight from the flesh of Elder Rama. You repaired her lifeline cart with your own hands. You refused payment. You gave her words of family. Do you confirm this?" Ethan looked around, feeling very out of place. "Yeah," he said slowly. "I mean, yes, I helped her. She was hurt. I could not just walk away." The second official stepped forward. Touching the stone pillar, symbols lit up. "By the ancient code of our people," he said, "anyone who saves the life of an elder of the house and speaks of family with an honest heart is bound to be offered place in the bloodline." Ethan's heart jumped. "Wait," he said, holding up a hand. "Bound to be offered what now?" Rama's voice cut gently through the air. "It means," she said, looking at him with deep feeling, "you must be given the honor to join my house, to stand in our line, to become husband to my young granddaughter Lyra." The words hit Ethan like a punch. He stared at her, then at Lyra, then at the glowing pillar. "Husband," he repeated. "You mean marry?" "You are talking about marriage because I helped you." Lyra's shoulders tightened. Her cheeks changed color in a faint shy pattern. She did not speak. Rama nodded slowly. "Our law is clear," she said. "A life saved must be honored. A strong heart must be brought into the family. You acted with big courage and no payment. You called me grandma. That word is not small." One official lifted his staff and spoke again. "We are witnesses," he said. "The elder offers her granddaughter. The bond, if accepted, will protect the house, lift its honor, and link human. And our kind under the old oath." Ethan felt trapped. His human heart wanted to shout that this was crazy. Marriage was not a reward, not a payment, not a law. Marriage for him was about choice, time, trust. He barely even knew Lyra. He did not know her favorite food, her laugh, her dreams. How could he take her hand and say yes? "I'm honored," he began carefully, his voice low. "But humans do not marry like this. I cannot just accept. I did not help you to get a wife. I helped because it was right." A murmur moved through the small crowd of Rama's people at the edge of the room. The officials frowned. Rama's hands tightened on the handle of her cart. Lyra flinched as if his words hurt her, even though he did not mean them that way. The first official spoke. "Refusing the honor is refusing the elder," he said coldly. "Refusing the elder is refusing the house. Refusing the house shamas the name." He looked at Ethan, his eyes hard. "Are you sure, human?" Ethan's chest felt tight. He could almost feel invisible chains pulling in different directions. Duty to his own beliefs, respect for Rama, fear of hurting Lyra. He drew in a slow breath. "I do not want to shame anyone," he said. "But marriage must be a free choice for both. For me and for Lyra, I cannot accept like this. For..." The first time Lyra lifted her head, her voice was very soft, but everyone heard it. "Grandmother," she whispered. "He is not cruel. He is only human." Her eyes met Ethan's for one heartbeat, full of sadness and something else he did not know yet. Rama closed her eyes in pain. The glowing pillar dimmed a little. The officials shared a dark look. One leaned closer to her and whispered something in their own tongue. Ethan could not understand the words, but he saw the fear in Rama's face. She opened her eyes and looked at Ethan with a mix of love and worry. "You have started a storm around my house, Ethan Cole," she said quietly. "Whether you walk toward us or away from us now, the law will not sleep." He stood in the center of the shrine, feeling the weight of alien eyes on his back. He had only wanted to help an old woman on a busy station. Now somehow, it felt like the whole shape of his life was being pushed into a new path by a law he never knew existed. And the storm was only beginning. The news spread faster than light. Across the station, people didn't need a news network, just mouths, whispers, and curious eyes. By the time Ethan walked into the marketplace that morning, almost every alien vendor had already heard the story. "There he is," someone whispered. "The human who refused the binding." "He insulted the elder," said another. "He broke an oath." His own words were used against him. A tall reptilian trader muttered, shaking his head. Ethan didn't understand what was happening at first. He stepped into the food court to get his favorite protein wrap, but the worker behind the counter suddenly ran out of wraps. Another shopkeeper quietly closed their window when he came close. Even some human workers avoided him. One man from engineering, who used to joke with Ethan every shift, now just gave a short nod and walked away. It felt like something invisible was pushing everyone back, all because he said no, because he didn't want to marry someone he barely knew. Ethan sat alone on a bench near the greenhouse dome. He rubbed his face with his hands. "What the hell did I get pulled into?" he whispered. He didn't hate Rama, and he definitely didn't hate Lyra, but this law, this ancient binding thing, it wasn't his world. He didn't belong in this mess. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw her. Lyra. She stood quietly by the garden gate, her hands folded in front of her. She wore a simple soft blue dress, and her skin patterns glowed faintly. Her eyes met his for just a second before she looked away. He stood up and walked over. "Lyra," he said gently. She didn't run. But she didn't speak either. "I'm sorry," Ethan said. "If I made this harder for you, I didn't mean to shame anyone. I don't believe marriage should be forced." Lyra finally looked up, her voice soft like a breeze. "I know," she said. "I told grandmother that, but it's not just about me now." "What do you mean?" he asked. She bit her lip and turned slightly. "When you said no, the house of Rama lost honor, and when that happens, enemies take the chance." She looked at him, eyes serious now. "There are merchants who want our shop. There are voices in the council who dislike." "My grandmother's voice, your refusal gave them what they needed." Ethan's heart sank. "You're saying this whole thing is political?" "Yes," she whispered, "but to my grandmother it's also personal. She truly believes you are good for our family. She believes fate sent you." Ethan sat down beside her on the garden edge. "I didn't ask to be anyone's fate," he said. "I was just trying to help a grandma in trouble." Lyra smiled faintly. "You did. But here, kindness can be dangerous." Just then, a loud crash echoed from the market, followed by angry voices. Ethan and Lyra rushed toward the sound. When they arrived, they saw Rama's shop broken into, shelves knocked over, walls marked with dark red ink. Alien thugs were already gone, but they left a message written in old alien symbols. Lyra translated quietly, "If the law is broken, the house will fall." Rama stood nearby, trembling but not crying. "They waited for a reason," she said calmly. "Now they have it." Ethan looked at the damage, at the proud old woman trying not to fall apart. "Who did this?" he asked. "Those who want us gone," Rama said. "They'll push now, using every rule, every trick." "But this wasn't your fault," Ethan said. "This was because of me." "No," Rama replied, meeting his eyes. "It was because you were kind, and kindness has a price here." Ethan stood in the middle of the broken shop, surrounded by stairs. He realized something deep. He could walk away now. Let this family suffer, or he could stand up, not as a husband, not as a law-bound name, but as someone who wouldn't let bullies win. He turned to Rama. "I'm not marrying anyone because I'm forced," he said, "but I'm not letting you be destroyed because of me either." She smiled, just a little, and nodded. "Then prepare, human," she whispered, "because they will come again, and next time, they won't just break shelves." The part ends as the camera pans over the shattered shop and Lyra glancing at Ethan, not with fear, but with growing hope. The storm is just beginning, and Ethan has unknowingly taken his first step into becoming more than just a helper, but a guardian, and maybe something more to Lyra than either of them can admit yet. End of part 3, to be continued in part 4. Let me know if you want part 4 next. I'll keep the suspense and style strong. The lights in the space station dimmed early that day. Storm signals flickered across the glassy corridor walls, warning of radiation waves from a nearby gas giant. But inside Sector 7's lower market, another kind of storm was brewing, one far more personal. Ethan didn't go to work that morning. He spent hours helping Rama sweep glass from her broken shelves. They didn't talk much. Lyra helped, too silent, calm, but her eyes held questions she never spoke out loud. Every time she passed Ethan a broom or a tool, her fingers brushed his for just a second, then moved away like she didn't want to be noticed. Ethan felt heavy, not just in his body, but in his heart. He didn't sign up for this. But now he couldn't look away. Not after the look on Rama's face when she saw her family shop wrecked. Not after Lyra whispered, "I told you. Kindness is dangerous here." Just after midday, a voice rang out, sharp and cruel. "Look who's cleaning trash still, pretending to be part of a noble house." 3 alien males stepped into the broken shop, big, broad, and full of arrogance. Their skin had deep red scales, and their necks carried black tattoo rings, sign they were part of a rough merchant syndicate that had long wanted Rama's shop. The leader stepped forward, pointing a clawed finger at Lyra. "Still hiding behind your weak human, little bride," he sneered. "He doesn't even want you. Everyone knows it." Ethan stood up slowly, his hands at his sides, but his jaw tight. "Back off," he said calmly. "You've made your point." The alien laughed and turned to Ethan. "What's the matter, Earthman? You fix machines, but you can't fix promises." He leaned closer, the air around him smelling like rust and heat. "You had your chance to make this house strong. Now we'll break it piece by piece. That's..." When Lyra stepped forward, just a little, she didn't speak. But she stood beside Ethan, not behind him. Her silent choice said more than any words. The red-scaled thug's smile dropped. "Fine," he growled. "We'll break him first." One of the others pulled a shock rod from his belt. And everything moved fast after that. Ethan dodged the first swing, grabbed a broken shelf plank, and blocked the next. Sparks flew as the rod struck metal and wood. Ethan was no soldier, but he had strength, instinct, and something deeper, rage. Not rage for himself, but for the fear in Lyra's eyes, for the pain in Rama's tired shoulders, for the silent question that everyone seemed to ask. Why is a human getting involved? Because someone had to. Ethan twisted around, used the narrow space to his advantage. He ducked low, slammed one thug into the counter, then turned and kicked another hard in the leg. One of them got a hit in pain, sparked up Ethan's ribs. But he didn't fall. He didn't give them the victory they wanted. Finally, the three backed away, bruised and breathless. One spat on the floor. "This isn't over." "Human," he hissed. "You chose the wrong side." Ethan wiped blood from his lip and stood tall. "Maybe," he said, "but I didn't choose it for me." They left, dragging broken pride with them. The market had gone quiet. Everyone had seen. Some looked at Ethan with respect, others with fear. Rama stepped forward, tears in her eyes but her voice steady. "You fought for my house without a bond," she whispered. "You bleed for us with no title, no gain." She placed her hand on his shoulder. "You act like her husband, Ethan Cole. Why do you fear the name of it?" Ethan didn't answer. His breath was still heavy. His ribs hurt. His thoughts were louder than the voices around him. Lyra moved close, touched his arm gently. "You could have walked away," she said softly. "But you didn't." Ethan looked at her then, really looked. Not as a girl he was forced to marry, not as a stranger, but as someone strong, someone caught in the same mess as him. Someone who didn't ask for this either. He didn't know what would come next, but deep down, he no longer wanted to leave. He didn't belong to their house, not yet, but a part of him had already rooted itself in this strange alien corner of the galaxy, and maybe, just maybe, that part was starting to grow. End of part 4. Do you want part 5 next? The tension is building, and the council's about to get involved. Asterisk. The Grand Council chamber wasn't made for humans. Ethan stood beneath glowing crystal vines that hung from a ceiling too tall. Too strange. The floor was soft and pulsed like living moss, and above him, 12 alien judges sat in carved seats shaped like coiled wings. Each of them wore a veil of shining threads, hiding their faces but not their power. He'd been summoned, not invited. A formal order was sent to his room just after the fight with the thugs. And now here he was, bruised, sore, tired, and standing in front of the highest court on the station. The lead council voice was slow and deep, translated through the wall's echo stone. "Human, you disrupted sacred order," it said. "You broke a bond that was forming under ancient law." Ethan raised his hand, trying to stay calm. "With all respect," he said, "I didn't agree to that bond. No one even told me about it until it was too late. You saved an elder." The second voice boomed. "You spoke of family. You took her pain into your arms. You called her grandma." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Where I come from, that's just being kind. Then your kindness has consequences." The third counselor said, "You were warned. You refused the offer of marriage. And now the house of Rama is under threat." At those words, a low sound passed through the chamber, something like sorrow and shame. Behind Ethan, Rama sat in her hover cart. Her eyes were dry but dim. Lyra stood beside her, her hands clasped in front of her, like she was holding herself together. She hadn't spoken yet, not even once since they arrived. The first counselor leaned forward. "The situation has grown unstable," he said. "Enemies of House Rama now act freely. They claim her house is weak, broken, unprotected." "That's not because of me," Ethan snapped, then caught himself. "That's because others are using this law as a weapon," the fourth voice spoke, gentler. "But you gave them the sword." Silence stretched, heavy like a storm. Ethan turned around slowly, looked at Rama. "Why didn't you warn me?" he asked quietly. "Why didn't you tell me what helping you would mean?" Rama looked up, voice small. "Because I thought you'd walk away," she said. "I thought if you knew the price, you'd never lift that crate." He felt that in his bones, like a truth too heavy to hold. Then Lyra stepped forward at last. Her voice shook, but it was loud enough for all to hear. "Ethan did not fail us," she said. "He protected me. He fought for our shop. He faced violence, and he didn't turn his back." The council murmured again, surprised by her sudden strength. But Lyra continued. "He also didn't choose me, not with his heart. And I won't let the law force him to." That moment cracked something in the room. A break in tradition, a pause in the old weight of rules. The council leader raised one long hand. "Then hear this," he declared. "You have 3 cycles, 3 local days, to fulfill one of 2 conditions." Ethan tensed. "What conditions?" "1," the voice said. "You agree to the bond of marriage as stated, and become lawful protector of House Rama." Ethan's heart pounded. "Or 2," the voice continued. "You bring proof of alternative protection, a formal pact of guardianship that carries the same risk, weight, and public challenge as the bond." "And if I fail both?" Ethan asked. "Then House Rama loses all trade rights." The second voice said coldly. "Her shop will be dissolved, her family name struck from the hall stones." Ethan turned to Lyra and Rama. Their faces held no anger, just quiet acceptance, like they'd been through this trial before. Too many times in too many ways. 3 cycles, he thought. 3 days to fix what law and honor had twisted around him. He didn't know how yet, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to let this family fall, not like this, not on his watch. He bowed his head slightly to the council. "Understood," he said. "I'll return before the 3rd cycle ends." The final line echoed in the chamber as he walked away. Then the trial of the heart begins. End of Part 5. Next, Part 6, where Ethan plans to rewrite tradition with a dangerous and bold challenge. Shall I continue to Part 6 next? Ethan had only 3 cycles to save House Rama, 3 alien days, barely enough time to breathe. But instead of panicking, Ethan started thinking deeply, seriously, dangerously. He sat alone in his quarters. Lights dim, a bandage on his ribs, and his old mechanic tools scattered on the floor. He wasn't a warrior, he wasn't royalty, but he knew machines, systems, and more importantly, he knew people, and he had an idea. Rama had said something that echoed in his head. "You act like her husband, why fear the name?" But Ethan wasn't afraid of marriage, he was afraid of being forced. He wanted choice for himself, and for Lyra. He wanted the same respect humans gave to bonds of the heart. So, what if he made his own kind of bond? He pulled up every file on alien laws he could access. He hacked a few restricted records with the help of an old contact in admin. He searched for loopholes. And what he found changed everything. There was a forgotten rule, dusty and ignored, but still valid. Clause 9 Gamma. A guardian may swear an oath equal to marriage if presented before public counsel with risk of physical trial and cultural approval. Ethan smiled, sore but satisfied. It was old, almost ceremonial, but it could replace the marriage bond. The key was, he had to prove his loyalty in front of witnesses and accept a challenge designed to test his heart. It would be public, dangerous, and embarrassing if he failed, but if he won, it would legally bind him to the family as protector, without marriage. The next morning, he went straight to Rayema's shop. She was surprised to see him. "You should be resting," she said. "Your wounds." "I don't have time," Ethan interrupted gently. "I found another way," he explained the clause. The trial, the oath, and the public council witness requirement. Rama's eyes widened. That law is ancient, nearly forgotten. But it's still active, Ethan said. And if I take that oath, no one can say your house is without a guardian. She nodded slowly, deeply moved. And you accept? This risk, she asked. Ethan looked toward Lyra, who had just entered the room. I'll do it, he said. Not for law, not for honor, but because I want to stand beside you. Your house, your family. Lyra's breath caught. Her eyes welled with quiet emotion. You'd take the trial, she whispered. Even though we're not married. Yes. Ethan replied, because respect is greater than law. That same evening, Rama summoned her clan's priest to help prepare the ceremonial words. Word of the event spread fast. The challenge would be held in the plaza under the central dome. The council was forced to approve it after all. It was in their own book of law. Alien citizens from every corner of the station began to gather. Some came to laugh. Some came to see if the human would survive. A few came just to witness history. Lyra watched Ethan train in secret that night. He tested his body, checked his reflexes, practiced the moves he'd need to survive the challenge. She finally spoke from the doorway. You're risking everything, he smiled gently, wiping sweat from his face. Not everything, he said. Only my bones, pride, and possibly my sanity. She stepped closer, heart pounding. Why would you go this far? Because you didn't ask me to, Ethan replied. And that's what makes you worth fighting for. Lyra didn't speak after that, but her eyes never left him again. The final scene of this part shows the giant plaza at dawn, glowing with golden light. Ethan walks into the crowd wearing ceremonial cloth over his mechanic's jacket, bruised but standing tall. The council stands above, watchers fill the platforms, and Rama holds Lyra's hand tightly. The trial is about to begin. The oath of the heart is ready, and the human without wedding rings, without royal titles, is going to prove that his loyalty is deeper than law. Asterisk, the central plaza of the station had never been this full. Aliens of every kind packed into the upper tiers and lower walkways. Some hovered on drones, others sat on shoulders. Everyone had come to see one thing, the human trial. Ethan stood at the center of the circular platform, tall under the golden dome. A single beam of light shone down on him. His arms were bruised, his ribs still sore. But his back was straight, and his jaw was set with quiet strength. He wore a ceremonial cloth tied across his chest, stitched by Lyra's own hands the night before. And beneath that cloth was his worn mechanic's jacket, proof of who he truly was. Just a man, not a noble, not a warrior, just a human who wouldn't walk away. At the edge of the platform stood the council, their silver veils glowing faintly. Beside them was Rama, sitting upright in her hovercart, silent but proud, and next to her, in a soft blue dress, stood Lyra. The lead counselor raised a long hand, by Clause 9 Gamma. This human seeks to bind himself to House Rama, through the ancient rite of heart oath. A murmur spread across the plaza. Most had never seen this trial used. Some believed the law was myth. But no one looked away. The platform shifted. Panels opened slowly around Ethan's feet, revealing a glowing ring carved with old alien runes. In the center stood a tall black stone, its surface smooth and alive with red energy. The test was simple, but brutal. Ethan had to carry the stone from the center to the council's feet without collapsing.